As usual, checking a few things out here. The main being if the sound is okay. All these little details, unfortunately, have to be taken care of. We might run into some connection problems again, as usual. The weather here is not as good as it should be. Hopefully the sound comes across. Plus, the subject matter this morning could be a cause for some interference too. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm sorry if there's a bad connection. It's kind of like my trademark. It seems like. It's too bad. Okay, yeah, if you guys will let me know if the sound is okay, we're going to go ahead and go with that. Good morning, it sounds good. Thank you very much. Like I said, the video might jump around a bit. It's showing some connection problems as usual. My name is Roy Potter. This is the live stream version of the Potter Expositor, and today is the 22nd of May, 2018. Wow. This year is just rolling right along. I do have the chat room open because I think the subject matter today, as you can tell, is going to be a fireball in a lot of ways. It's going to be fireworks, and but with good reason. It's a sad day in some regards because of this information, but it's information that has to be done, and I'll explain that as we go. What I'm going to get into first, however, is the situation with Trump calling for the DOJ to investigate itself. And while, there probably is a reason why he's doing that, I'm really wondering what's going on with Daniel Coates, the Director of National Intelligence, who's actually overseeing all of the intelligence agencies. Jeff Sessions, as most of you know, on Saturday, I did a short live stream where I said that, basically the deep state is taking hostages. They're starting to go after regular citizens, and that Trump can't wait any longer. He's got to go after these people. There's no excuse for Hillary Clinton, the Podestas, Clapper, Brennan, Mudd, those types of people. There's no reason for them not to be indicted and arrested at this point. I know people say, oh, he has his reasons. I see that all the time. But we're seeing these things get worse and worse, as I predicted they would, that his inaction will result in a lot of persecution, a lot of situations putting good people in danger. How you want to define good people. A lot of people say, well, Roger Stone, he's not really good. Well, that's a matter of opinion. But certainly what's going on now with Mueller and the FBI having grabbed these 8 people over the weekend and questioned them, trying apparently to get information on Russian agents within InfoWars and other places. By the way, this is going to include all of us who've been very vocal about that. That's what, as I warned about a long time ago, that's what all this is really about. It's to take out the Trump support base, especially those who are the most vocal. And that's where they're going with this, to try to link into Russian agents. So at any rate, on Saturday, I said, look, here it is. This is what's happening. Trump needs to move. Then on Sunday, he tweeted out, if a lot of you were watching his tweets that day, he was tweeting out about all of this garbage coming out of the DOJ and the FBI, their unwillingness to give Congress the information that they are not requesting but demanding at this point, and rightly so. And of course, the DOJ, what do they always use? Oh, it's going to expose sources and methods. Well, that's always the cry so that they can continue their criminal conduct. But there is no law that says that can keep them from giving Congress the information. When Congress demands it, they must produce it. And that's Congress's and the president's business, not the DOJ. And the DOJ, like Clapper will say, oh, the independence of the Department of Justice and the FBI, that's a sham. It works for the executive branch. It answers to the president. It doesn't answer to itself. And so all of this is coming to a head. And on Sunday, as I said, Trump finally called it. I says, I demand that the investigation into this spy ring into the Trump administration, and I would hope that it moves over to the Anon situation in Congress too, with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and all of that entire Pakistani spy ring there. And we keep, well, at any rate, that's really important for a lot of reasons. I don't want to get off in the weeds on that one, but all of that needs to be looked at. And so Trump came out and demanded it on Sunday. On Monday, as most of you know, he called Rosenstein and FBI Assistant AG Rod Rosenstein. I'm not sure how you say his name. Rosenstein, you know. I don't know. I should ask, I guess, how he says his name, but I hear it both ways. At any rate. And then he also called, the president also called FBI Director Christopher Wray in. And apparently it was a fairly heated discussion from what I can gather. From the information that I've seen, Rod Rosenstein left with a red face and very, very angry, quite obvious. I was hoping that Trump would fire him, but you know he's not at that point yet, and I think that disappointed a lot of us. Because, like I said, the Director of National Intelligence, Stan Coates, was in that meeting as well. Do you notice who wasn't in that meeting? Jeff Sessions. The president knows that Jeff Sessions is not worth his time. So, at any rate, it looks like, though, that Trump might be moving. However, another IG investigation into all this is going to take probably a year. We don't have that much time. I don't think Trump has that much time. We're going to see some bad things happen, which already did. As a matter of fact, as soon as Rosenstein left the meeting, the Mueller investigation team started to leak information to the news media again on various topics that obviously should not have been leaked. All of those leaks are crimes. And it's interesting how, as you know, by the way, I have a window open. It's way too hot here. It's overcast, and so but there's no breeze, so it's staying quite warm. So I'm sorry if there's any background noise. But at any rate, this whole thing with the IG investigating is again a problem, and I'm hoping that there's something going on behind the scenes with the Director of National Intelligence, Coates. I don't believe that he can prosecute. I don't think he has any prosecutorial power. That's why the DOJ is holding their cards so close, because they're trying to keep that from happening. But I think that there's another key here between him and the Secret Service. At least I'm hoping so. And so we might see some things happen there. The Secret Service, of course, should be involved with all the threats that these members, these former members, these insiders, these bureaucrats, these traitors who have headed up the intelligence community, they should be the Secret Service should be able to go after them for the threats that they've made to the president, etc. Because those threats haven't just been political bantering. They've actually talked about coup-type activity, even threats on the president's life and that of his family. So, I'm hoping that there's another avenue here. Military tribunals, I don't know. You talk to Lionel and others, Rudy Giuliani and people like that, and that doesn't look like that's in the cards, despite what we've been told by a certain information source for the last, 7 months. All of that's apparently hogwash, as is people being taken to Guantanamo Bay and all that. I'm just hoping, like I said, that isn't the deep state's preparation for the real patriots. Okay, so I also wanted to point out that there are a lot of people out there that are still saying that Sessions is the secret tool behind all this, and that he's starting to shine and all that, and there are people on Twitter and on YouTube, and I really appreciate their willingness to do this research. But I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, they start with a hypothesis, which we must all do. But what the problem is that when they go do their research, I've noticed that all they glean from it, all they pick out of it, are those things that seem to support their position. Their position being that Sessions is a good guy, that Wray's a good guy, that Mueller's actually working on Trump's team, all of that nonsense. And I'm going to call it that. But that's myopic. It's like I said, we're all guilty of information bias. We want things to verify how we already feel, how we already are our opinion. But that's a very unhealthy way to go about it. And all I'm going to say is this, that there are those people, Okay, and I'm not saying they're not good people. I'm not saying that they don't have some incredible investigative and reporting ability. I've brought up these people in the past, and I appreciate what they do. But we're really getting to the point where now it's a siren song. Okay, it's taken us away from what is really going on, like with the Q thing, which we're going to get into in a minute, which takes us away from the realm of action. And we think it's going to be done because it's going to happen. Nathan Stolpman, sorry, of Lift the Veil did an excellent piece on that, which I've included in the description box, and we'll get to that in a few minutes as well, on the history of this. And this is a recurring theme that's been happening for a long time, and it takes advantages of our hopes. And I'll admit I fell into that as well, with a little caution. I think I wasn't as cautious as Nathan Stolpman or Unirock or Montagraph, those guys and more. But I after the evidence started to show itself, then I became suspicious. So I'm talking about the Q thing anyway. But getting back to this situation with Sessions and Mueller and Wray and all that, where all this information seems to be pulled out of these different documents and these researches, looking only at things that actually support the position that Sessions is a good guy. Let me read some names to you, okay? And then you make up your mind, all right? There are all those who say that Sessions is okay, but let's look at some of the names of people who say he isn't okay. People who've been in the system for a long time, who understand how it works. They're on the inside. There is no drama of the president trying to keep secrets from the deep state, because that's impossible. Okay, there's no theatrics going on to fool the deep state. That's an absolutely ridiculous postulate. So again, let me read some of these names, okay? This will be interesting. All right? Judge Janine, Judge Napolitano, Rudy Giuliani, Dan Bongino, Representative Nunes, Representative Gates, Alan Dershowitz. Wow, even he says so. Joe DeGeneva, Lou Dobbs, Sean Hannity, Greg Jarrett, and I saved what I consider to be the best for last, Mark Levin. None of those people agree with these researchers on Twitter and on YouTube that are saying that there's a secret operation being run by Jeff Sessions behind the scenes, or that Mueller's a friend of Trump's and is just exposing the deep state actors, or that Wray is on Trump's team, or that Rosenstein is, any of those things. And I understand why those viewpoints came out, but we're way past any evidence that suggests that argument that Sessions is a good guy is true. We're just way past that. And these people's names that I just read off are not deep state actors. They are not. These are people, I guess there could be an argument made for Dershowitz, but the fact that he didn't go down that road is important. So you take your pick. I'm not going to tell you what to believe or who to get your information from. The important thing is that you don't become so myopic that you get your information from just one source and think that that's going to take care of things. It isn't. And that's why we're going to get into the next topic about Q here in just a few minutes. I am very worried, and I'm going to say this, and I have to. I love Donald Trump. I love what he's done. He's not getting the accolades he needs to for what's happening with North Korea. And of course, they're starting to fudge now because North Korea is still under something. I keep hearing people say, Pompeo cleaned out the CIA. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. And he didn't clean out the deep state. The Clintons, the Obamas, they still have their handles in places. It's weakening, but it's still very strong. And North Korea has been fudging on some things. And Trump did, one day I came out on a live stream, I said, to show good faith, why are we doing this military drill? Trump should pull back and say not to do that. Well, guess what? He didn't do it because I said it. I'm sure it's just, it's just a good thing to do. It's wise. It's a good piece of judgment. And he did pull back on that military drill between us and South Korea. So he's showing good faith, which is very important. But there are people trying to scuttle the North Korea deal. They're trying to scuttle, of course, the situation with Russia. They've been at that for a long time. And I'm hoping this meeting coming up with Kim Jong-un and President Trump in June will in fact occur. They're going to do everything they can to stop it. But not only the photo op of those two guys shaking hands, and my Republican friend brought this up. He said when he saw Gorbachev and Reagan back in Reykjavik, Iceland, back at the ending of the Cold War, shaking hands, it's a visual that he has in his mind to this day. It was very significant, and it's going to be the same with Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. And the deep state doesn't want that. They're going to do everything they can to scuttle it. And hopefully down the line, we're also going to have that same situation with Putin, where Putin and Trump will get together. These are important things. We need to get away from the idea that the world is our enemy. We need to take care of business and defend ourselves, but to do what we've been doing for the last 60 years at least, and I guess I could go all the way back to the beginning, really, but that's just too much history for this broadcast. We'd never get through it. It's really time to stop the warmongering. It's really time to stop calling people enemies that aren't. And, they're just looking out for their own like we do. And that's a big difference. Now, China, you got to watch. But Russia's not our enemy. Are there bad people in Russia? Yeah. But look at the bad people in the United States. Look at the oligarchs here. Not really called that, but of course that's the idea. So at any rate, my point on all this is I love Trump. I love what he's doing. I stand behind him. When he does the right thing, when he doesn't, I'm going to call him out. But I see still something happening behind the scenes here, and it worries me. And I'm going to use a story from a very well-known book and movie, of course, The Lord of the Rings. And you'll remember that they're trying to destroy the ring. And unfortunately, a person says, yeah, I'm going to destroy it. Whoever. It's going to be the king of, whatever king that was. I can't remember his name now, but there were several. And, of course, even Frodo himself, saying you're going to destroy the ring. And then there's a question as to whether or not you really want to relinquish that power. I look at the presidency in the same way. The presidency is that one ring, not really, because it's actually another group behind the president or beyond the president that's kept him in the dark shadows. But the ring of power, you want to rein it in the case of Lord of the Rings, you want to destroy it. But once you get control of that, it's an aphrodisiac. It's a drug. And people don't want to release that power. I'm going to beg President Trump not to go there. Okay, I'm going to beg him not to do that. I'm going to beg him to go after the criminals, the traitors, the deep staters in our country, and not hold back. Because that's where our real problem is. They control all the problems in the rest of the world practically. Almost, not all of them, but certainly the major ones like with China, North Korea, Russia, all these little wars in Southwest Asia and in Africa, all of that, okay? And even Antifa here, Black Lives Matter, all of those organizations that are trying to overthrow our constitutional republic or to cause violence against our people. And they will do it. And Trump, I don't want him to give in to that aphrodisiac of power. God bless him in doing the right thing, as I always say. And also I want to bring up Melania. Apparently she is still in the hospital. Apparently it was a lot more serious than anybody's letting on to. I don't know what the situation is. They're saying it's a kidney problem. I talked to a doctor about it, and he was saying, well, it almost sounds like it's a benign tumor, but it could be a malignant. He's not saying it's either one for sure, but it's more serious than just a kidney infection or kidney stones or things like that. Melania, I think, if she isn't already, she will be the most beloved First Lady that the United States has ever had. And, yeah, I get a little emotional about that because she's a good woman. It's real obvious. I wish Donald Trump was as good as Melania is. But, at any rate, so we got to pray for her that she'll be okay. I'm hoping that it wasn't some nefarious activity, some clandestine activity of any kind. But we're not hearing much. So since we don't know, just keep her in your prayers. And there are a lot of people, of course, we want to keep in our prayers. But these icons, these symbols of our liberties and of our of our goodness. We really need to concentrate on them. As Jesus said, and I always bring Jesus stuff up, I know, one way or another. There was that argument over the money, buying the spikenard and the perfume to anoint Jesus with. And the story goes, it's not really like this, but Judas said, why, and some of the other disciples said, why did you take the money and give it to buy this? That's worthless. We could have used it for other things. And what did Jesus say? He says, you're always going to have the poor with you. Sometimes you have to do this for the right reason. Sometimes you have to, because the poor are always going to be there. God bless them, but they're bigger fish to fry. And that's the case here. The people that represent us that are in the spotlight, we really need to pray for them, because they're the image of where we should go. Okay, it goes the other way too. They can do bad things, either in darkness, in the shadows. But when they do things in the light, we want to do that. And I don't think anybody can disagree. I pray I'm never wrong on this, but I think we can all agree, let me put it that way, that Melania is a very special woman. And so let's pray for her. She's a great example for all women everywhere, and actually for all people. Okay. Let's move on to the big topic that everybody wants to hear about, and I know that's the case. Let me just check a few things here in the chat room and make sure that everything's okay. Morning, everybody. I'm glad you're here. If I didn't welcome you, sometimes I put the cart before the horse, but thank you for coming. As I said the other day in a live stream, I'm going to say things that you don't want to hear. If I didn't, I wouldn't be honest. I wouldn't have any integrity. People will say, well, you have a useless reputation already. That's beside the point. Okay? The point is I want to do the right thing. So let me start off here. I called this, of course, QAnon pirated. We must police our own. Couple of examples. The MSM, by and large, is going along with the coup. Very few people, with the exceptions that I've already named, are standing up and saying other than what the mainstream media is, which of course is a tool, is part of the CIA and the intelligence community, which is seeking to do a coup not only on the president but on all Americans and our constitutional republic. The MSM should be policing itself, and it's not. And look at the result. Another example of people policing themselves, and we could talk about towns and cities and all that do it, but I want to go into specifics like this thing with the MSM. And the other one is a situation that happened at Bundy Ranch. At Bundy Ranch, there was an internal security apparatus to keep criminals out as best we could, because anytime you have a gathering of people, I don't care, they could be Jesus followers, and you're going to get infiltrators of different criminals. It's just going to happen. So you have to set up an internal policing system, and it worked at Bundy Ranch. Despite what all of those people were doing, many of them carrying weapons, many of them very adamant about things, there was no violence, no threat of violence, anything like that. And if anybody ever showed their head, put their head up and started acting like that, there were people that the Bundys had set up to take care of those bad apples. And we saw an example of that with the couple that were ejected from the demonstration. And then they did the shooting of the police officer in Las Vegas about 2 weeks after the Bundy Ranch thing was over. So what I'm saying here is that if your community doesn't police itself, then you're going to have a problem. Okay, it's eventually going to cause a very, very big problem. First of all, it's going to show that you're not really serious about what your concerns are, that you're going to point the fingers at everybody else and never take the responsibility of policing yourself. There are people in the QAnon community that if you don't agree with them, and I've talked about the cultic activity before, it's not following Q that's cultic behavior. No, it's accosting others for not wanting to follow Q. Or if you're in the Q movement, you leave it. And then these people fiercely attack others. And it's been bad. And I'd like to name a lot of these that I see doing. People I never thought would turn to this type of indecency. And I'm going to call it that. So wrapped into the cultic mindset that, like, and I've been in several churches where, I said, I've studied and I said, this isn't the way you said it was. And they would attack me because now I'm raising questions about their faith in something, and they don't want to hear that. So they'll call you an apostate, especially if you leave. That shows you, when people act like that, that shows you, number one, they're either insecure, or number two, they have an evil streak in them and they want to control you. In either case, it's bad. And I warned about that in the Q phenomenon early on. So let me head on here and just talk about a few things. Anybody who's followed me, when Q came up, I wasn't one of the first to see it, but when I saw it, and this is back in early November, I went, wow, there's somebody, it looks like there's somebody in the intelligence community, probably former military intelligence or from the intelligence apparatus, that is sending out information in a Socratic method to get people, in other words, to ask rhetorical questions, to get people to think. And they were, it was obvious they weren't aligned with anything but the principles of the constitutional republic. Let me put it that way. There was no real attacking of individuals. There were a couple of times that things would come up that I'd question, and I don't want to get off in the weeds on all this. The bottom line is that whenever you have an anonymous character, you have to be cautious. Now, I saw some correlations between what the original Q was saying and some of the things that Trump did. The 41020 was an example. And then what that, and now, as it appears, there is some Kabbalistic activity going on there. But remember, there's good Kabbalistic stuff and there's bad, okay? So it depends on how it's used, just like anything else. A screwdriver can be a useful tool to use on a screw, or it can be used to kill somebody, which is what? It's unrighteous use, the use that's not right for it, except if you're trying to defend yourself maybe. But you get my point. So at any rate, I watched this, and it was incredible, some of the correlations that were going on. And I was going, great. I always did wonder, though, how somebody in the White House, an insider with Trump, could get away with doing this, and it would even be a problem if Trump was behind it, okay? But that window for me was open. That door for me was open, depending upon the circumstances. Come about Thanksgiving, my mind was starting to change. I was seeing some things happening. Again, the arrival of this cult-type behavior by many people that were in the Q movement. And for me, that's always a sign of a problem. Now, not all the time are followers doing what the leaders are doing or vice versa. But supposedly, this was only for information. And even today, you could use it for information purposes. I mean, if you're using the New York Times or the Washington Post, you can use Q. But we're going to go down that road here in a few minutes too. So the bottom line is I had some really serious problems with Q starting in late November and certainly by December. And then, as most of you know, with the DEF CON 1 deal on January 7th, I think I've been saying the 4th, but I think it was the 7th. I realized that these people were not who they said they were, at least at that point. That there had been, as we saw, some type of a pirating or a takeover of the Q team, okay, at some point along the line. A lot of changes in the boards, a lot of changes in the trip codes, a lot of crazy stuff going on back then, which basically the original Q told us prior to Thanksgiving that we had everything that we needed, okay? And then there was a lapse time there where we didn't hear from that group or that individual. But basically, this Q thing was saying it was really done prior to Thanksgiving. And then all of a sudden it just kept going and going, and then there were all these machinations going back and forth. That's another tomato. I've heard back east, I think they say machinations, and out here in the West they go machinations, whichever. You get my point, right? So there were these things that were happening, and I don't want to go through a lot of detail here, but the point is you have to be wary of these things, okay? You have to be aware that there's always somebody out there after your mind to control you. And I saw some of that happening, and they were using the followers to do it, to put pressure on those who had questions. And it was getting worse as time went on. It was getting increasingly worse. And then, as most of you know, as I said, the DEF CON 1 thing, and there are all types. Oh, but we really did have a missile launch. Oh, no, I heard Dave Acton. Sorry, Dave, I love you, but you brought up a thing. I didn't even see your post until here just the other day, where you were talking about the DEF CON and the chip and the bug in the system. And that they were actually talking about a DEF CON cyber attack or whatever. Dave, you're not right on that. I'm sorry. I understand where you're coming from, but that's really not what it was about. And B and Q proved it initially. They changed their story later to that, basically. Actually, they were fudging between the two things. When that first came out, if you look at the first post, and I have a video on my channel revealing, I don't remember the name of it, but if you go back and look, you'll see it'll say DEF CON 1 on it. And you'll see I explained that whole thing. I showed their posts on the boards and on Twitter and what they were saying. And the very first one had no reference to anything about it being a cyber attack. Okay? As a matter of fact, it didn't. It just said DEF CON 1 and then in brackets confirmed, CONF. Okay? And that's what blew me up because I realized that was a mistake. Anyway, as most of you know, B and I, supposedly the B and I had contact. There was somebody I had contact with there. And now, of course, we know much more about that whole situation with B and all that, which I'll get into in a minute. But I didn't want to blow the whole Q thing up. I couldn't do it anyway. But I did say that there were some problems with it. And then the DEF CON 1 thing, even with B and Q, there was this back and forth about, what we mean is maximum force readiness, or it's a defense contract. Other people were saying, Anons were saying defense contractor. The point is, these people were all talking about something they knew nothing about. DEF CON 1 means that there is a missile in the air and that the nuclear strike is imminent. That's what it means. When B and Q then moved over to say, well, it's DEF CON 1 non-nuclear, to try to make it look like the Dave Acton thing of it being a cyber event, I suspect that's what they were trying to do because I'd called them out on the other. There was another hint that they still were wrestling with what that meant because B, who is intimately involved, the original B, with, and by the way, Bonnie and I didn't create B, and we've already proven that as well. That was the Washington Pundit and another person, which I'm not going to mention here because I really don't want to mention names other than the good guys. Okay, so this thing came out where B and Q were then trying to say, well, we meant that DEF CON 1 is maximum force readiness, and Q didn't really say that, but B was kind of the voice of trying to smooth all this out. No, maximum force readiness is Red CON 1. Readiness condition 1, not DEF CON 1, defense condition 1. No. So these people didn't know what they were talking about. But I still kind of backed off a little bit because I there's still some good things happening, but I could see down the road where it was going. It was getting worse and worse all the time. Finally, as most of you know, I said, Q is a fine source of information, but don't let it control you. Don't become myopic and use that as your sole information source because it's not from God. It's not from President Trump. And if it is from an intelligence insider, it's a different one than started. Okay? And I left it. And I've tried to ignore it for months now, but of course, Owen Schroyer even had David Seaman on to talk about it. I think it was yesterday on the War Room. So there's no getting away from it, as much as I've tried to, because there are other things that are important. There are other things that we need to talk about and to take action upon, and stop thinking that this that Trump's got it all settled, that the plan is there, and that all we got to do is sit back and have popcorn. Watch, be careful about who you follow. Where we go one, we go all. Do you understand that these are communist ideas, Saul Alinsky tactics? Okay? And they showed up way too early. And I regret that I didn't come out stronger about them earlier. There were some people that did. Unirock did. Nathan Stolpman of Lift the Veil did. Montagraph did. There were some very savvy tech people who realized early on that that wasn't what they said. Now there's a disagreement amongst these people I'm going to mention here in a few minutes about if the original Q that started in late October or November was at least benign. In other words, trying to help the situation, okay, trying to inform people. There are some in this little community. I'm going to tell you, not a community. This unaligned group. I don't know. They're not confederated. Okay, they really aren't. As a matter of fact, they're some of the most fiercely independent alternate media people, conservatives I've ever seen. And God bless them for doing that, okay? Because they certainly help to keep me straight. All right? Not that people can't make mistakes, but you look at the overall actions of these people and you understand, what they're about. So there's this disagreement, and it's minor, I think. A lot of them will concede, okay, well, that first Q was probably, a benign, benevolent type of character or team. But when it was pirated, when it was taken over, it slowly evolved into the problem that we have today. And from there, let me put it to you this way. I'm going to say, Lionel loves to follow Q, but Lionel didn't follow this entire thing from start to finish. And there will be people that will accuse those who come in late but then fall away as, well, you didn't follow, you didn't know. Well, I have been there the whole time, okay? And I'm telling you there's a problem. And I'm telling Lionel that there's a problem because it's not just about information. It's about taking advantage of people, taking advantage of their beliefs, taking advantage of their age, taking advantage of, getting their money. Okay, that's where this thing has evolved, and in controlling people. And the people that are doing this under the Q umbrella, most likely, the evidence strongly suggests that they're being controlled by the intelligence community at this point. And there are two factions trying to do that, but the bad one has taken the reins pretty much. So, what I have down in the description box, if you'll go look at it, are some links. I told you about a week or so ago that there were people that were investigating the Q team in depth. Nobody really came to me and said, hey, we're doing this. I could see that it was developing, okay? These people, I'm going to name them right here, okay? Because, and I've named a few of them already. I want you to understand they didn't get together as a group and say, we're going to do this as a group. These were honest people with integrity that on their own decided that they needed to look into this and to investigate it. And what they found should everyone. Because just like certain religions, Q grabbed people with the fundamentals and then told them 99 truths to get them to have that one lie. And it has to do with control and money. It is, in fact, the Q situation is, in fact, now a control and money-making organization. That's really what it is. And I'm not going to plagiarize the investigative information that these people I'm going to name have done. I'm just summarizing it in a capsule that they've recognized that there are evil influences there, some satanic. You'll see that. Again, Satan, he pretends to be God, right? And that it revolves around control and getting money. Very much like we talked about early on, that the MSM who have I said the MSM is? It's the CIA, it's the intelligence community. They saw their viewerships on the mainstream media starting to lose some influence. And they saw that it was coming up in the alternative media. So they saw that, they said, look, this is getting some traction in the Patriot movement, and a lot of our viewers have gone there. Let's go take it over. A hostile takeover is really what it was. The same thing you see out in the corporate world. Like we know that there used to be dozens of media companies, and now it's down to like 3 to 6 because of this takeover situation. Well, that's basically what happened to Q. The CIA, the IC, the MSM saw what was happening and manipulated people, bad people. Not all of them, but the people that are really into what's going on here on the Q team at this point, got them to do their bidding, and it's very obvious. And the important thing to know here is that these investigators that did this independently, as I said, weren't communicating originally with each other. A little bit on some occasions, but not as a group, okay? The real testament about the truth of what they've done here is that a lot of them have been at odds with each other for a long time. You've heard me talk about the situation with Montagraph, who, by the way, on the list is OctoberReignz. It's his other channel. He's been a character in question for a long time because he's very private. And it's not because he's a criminal. It's because he's a private person. And I know the reason why he is there, and it's a good reason. Okay, it's a very good reason. And all these people that want to attack him, it's funny that they use all these pseudonyms on Twitter and YouTube, right? But they attack him for doing the same thing for a good reason. It's a double standard. But at any rate, the point about this is that I know for a fact that there are members of these names I'm going to give you. There has been abrasion between many of these people, and sometimes fiercely so. But what they've proven here is that they're really after the truth. They may make mistakes once in a while, but what you have here is, let me count them. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there are a lot more that I could name, but these are kind of the central core. These 7 people are about as independent as you can get. And they came to these conclusions by and large separately. Some of them started to come together in a confederation of sorts towards the end, basically in the last 2 weeks. That's why I said that this investigation was going to reveal an awful lot, which it has. But that's where it is. And the bottom line is that Q was taken over. If you want to believe the original Q is good, Q was taken over by a very nefarious group of people who were into control and into money. And I'm not going to explain all the details of that. I don't want to plagiarize their work. I want you to go look at it. It's going to take you some time, but it's absolutely necessary, and then you need to spread that information. Now, there are going to be Q cultist followers or people that don't understand what's happened here that are going to point the fingers because their faith system is now coming into question. And just like any religious organization, they're going to respond in a negative manner. We don't need to, those of you who are awake about this and understand what's going on, you don't need to attack them like they attack others. They've attacked Isaac Green, for instance, who I'm going to mention here in a minute. They've attacked Jerome Corsi. Now, I have some problems with Jerome Corsi, and a lot of people understand that, but the point is that we don't need to get into a position where we're attacking people and being nasty to them, threatening them, making them fearful. And I'm going to tell you about this in Hebrew. The word that they say, you got to fear God, it's really be in awe of God. Okay, that's really what it means. What did the angel Gabriel say to Mary when he appeared to her suddenly? He started talking because he was so excited, right? And then he had to back off and say, fear not, fear not. So anybody who puts you in fear is somebody who's trying to control you. And these people on the Q, that pirated Q, are very bad in that regard. That's what they do. They frighten people. They bully them. They dox them. They put them out and make people that are in afraid to counter them or to leave or to ask questions. As a matter of fact, on the boards, if you ask a question, the Anons, they'd be booted off. And some of these people were some of those good Anons. I'll just tell you that. Okay, let me read their names, all right? I want you to see this. Now, in the description box, I'm not saying you have to go through this order. Some of these are very, very long posts, but the information is all there, okay? Nathan Stolpman of Lift the Veil. His is the same old scam, The Great Awakening. Now, I'm linking you to usually just one video of each of these people. On several of their channels, there are many of them, and you can peruse those and study them yourselves. So Nathan Stolpman, Titus Frost, who did one, warning QAnon crew malicious malware. When you would sign up for some of this Ponzi scheme, some of this, and really it's starting to look like it's probably a pyramid scheme of sorts. When you'd sign up for it and you do it on your computer or your phone, it would download malware so that they could spy on you, so they could get information, they could track you, things like that. It's really bad stuff. An Anon known now, the Q people have doxed him, so we actually know who he is, but I'm not going to give that information here. One that goes on Twitter and on YouTube is 0 Hour 1. Fantastic technician. This guy knows his stuff. In the same Unirock knows his stuff, but this guy 0 Hour 1 is more on the lines of Montagraph. They're just superior in their understanding and their ability to move around in cyberspace. So 0 Hour 1. David Seaman. You know, David and I have never met, but we keep crossing paths on these different situations. And I just want to tell David, yeah, I like you, David. You know, none of us get it right all the time, and some of us, you know, we're abrasive to each other because we're different personalities. But I see your intent in your heart, and you're a good guy. So thank you for being there. So David Seaman. Let's see. I forgot to put this one here. I wonder who that is. I'm gonna have to find out. And then, of course, I said OctoberReignz or Montagraph. I'm going to find out who this is here. I forgot to put the name down. The QAnon Clown Army. Man, who did that? You know, I'm not sure. I'll add it in later. I can't believe I forgot the name. I thought I wrote it down, but I messed it up. When I find out who it is, I'm going to be embarrassed. Oh, Isaac Green. That's who it is. Okay? Let me put that in here so you've got that. Isaac Green. And really, and of course I've talked about Unirock, right? Let me make sure I've got Unirock in here. Maybe I didn't put his in. Let me just check. Okay, looks... Oh, there's Unirock. Okay, the final piece of the puzzle to expose QAnon from Unirock. Again, these guys, by and large, came to this conclusion themselves. Some of them started making contact over a period of time, but it was a very loose confederation, and what they're doing now is they're just exchanging information so they can get it out. And it's been an incredible thing to watch. And I'm very proud to, I don't know all of them personally, but I see what they're trying to do, and I understand what they're trying to do. Now let's talk about Isaac Green for a minute. Isaac Green was on the inside of the CBTS board, or invited to be in there. And there have been others, and I could name them, but I'm not going to. Isaac was willing to come out and be brave about this. He was very, very much into the Q thing. If you all followed Isaac, you know that. I recognized Isaac right away as being a very good man who wanted the truth, and I really didn't present him much information about the problems with Q. Like a lot of things, I just figure if people are honest and have integrity and they find a problem, they're going to do something about it. And Isaac Green actually did that. So he goes along with the concept that the Q originally was probably legitimate, some type of an intelligence person. I'm going to maintain that it's not a White House insider by any shape or in any amount at all. Possibly had ties before or whatever, but not currently there. Isaac would probably have a different viewpoint on that. But the fact of the matter is as he stayed with it, and he stayed with it up until, it's been about 3 weeks ago, I think, when he finally had to come out and say, maybe it wasn't quite that long ago, but the point is he was examining this and analyzing it at some point in time just beyond going through the posts, the Q posts. He was approached by the people that were running the CBTS board, the QAnon crew, we'll call it that, the Patriot Soapbox people, the Great Awakening. And if you look at Nathan Stolpman's video, you'll see why they chose these words to do what they did. It's incredible. Nathan did a great job here, and it was staring us right in our faces, and we didn't recognize it. But anyway, getting back to Isaac Green. So Isaac was watching this, and then he saw the attacks that I had been warning about all the time, and I saw little ones. There were attacks on myself, Jack Posobiec, who doesn't even have anything to do with Q, Mike Cernovich, Tracy Beans, for reasons I can't go into here, Jerome Corsi, same thing, and then Ann Coulter. They were attacking Ann Coulter, and some of these were death threats, and they were coming from the Anons who were in the boards, posting on the boards. Do you see what's happening here? These people threatened their money supply, their control grid. And so they came out after him. I was surprised after that Jerome Corsi got so involved. There may have been another reason for that, and I'm not prepared to say it at this point. But I was a little surprised considering the fact that they attacked him so viciously back in January, and then he went over there. But at any rate, so here you have. Sorry about the background noise. Again, I need the air. So some people say, well, that's because you're full of hot air, Roy. I wouldn't deny that. Okay. So Isaac saw these things as being a problem, and his conscience just couldn't go along with it. And he knew, I've got to point this out, he knew that when he stood up to do the right thing, that he was going to be persecuted for it, that he'd lose followers, that he'd lose income. But he did the right thing anyway. Anybody that points fingers at Isaac Green and calls him an apostate, a traitor, a turncoat, or any of those other things, they're the traitors and the turncoats, because Isaac Green has proven who he is. And he's a good man. But what they're doing to him now is indicative of who they are. Remember, it's one thing to point out problems with something and to show the evil in it. It's another thing to falsely accuse the brethren. That's what Satan does. That's what Saul Alinsky does. Who, by the way, who did he dedicate his book to? Lucifer. And these guys on the Q team, the Q crew, are using Luciferian Saul Alinsky tactics. Oh, they're giving you, Bible scriptures and all that because they're looking to get everybody into their control, into their net. They'll use these hooks. They'll get your money. They'll get you signed up for these monthly payments and things, right? And as I said before, is there a problem with making money doing Q posts? I never thought so. But it's the manner in which it's done. The labor is worthy of his hire. I've never taken money for it. I don't do anything with money on my YouTube channel, as I've said before, other than talk about my book, The Crimson Thread, only because it helps you understand how I view the first century history, if people are interested in that. I don't make it like you got to buy the book to listen to me. I don't do that. Again, I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate reasons for having paid subscriptions. I'm not saying that, but it's the manner in which the Q thing developed, and I'm not going to try to explain it all here. I want you to go look at it. The point is that it was a nefarious. I'm not going to say a criminal action, although there might be some wire fraud situations going on here now. As much as I distrust the FBI, sometimes they are necessary, and this could very well be one where the FBI needs to look at this, and I just hope the right guys do. But at any rate, it's the manner in which they proceeded and what they're doing. and the lives that they're now destroying, which is actually happening. So with that short, always short, right? It's been, almost an hour now of my ramblings. You'll understand that this is a very serious thing. Q is not a White House insider, and the current one has absolutely no contact with Trump. The reason why they're putting this Trump type of information out is because they know they need to gather those people to increase their subscriptions, their followers, for their money supply and for their control. They're going to flip on you. At some point in time, they're going to flip on you. And you don't want to follow them when they do. You don't want to be in that herd mentality that when it starts going over the cliff, you go over with it. Okay? I'm going to name these people again. The ones that I told you about right at the start that are against the Trust Sessions, Trust Ray BS. And you weigh this. And these are people that have been in the system. They know what they're talking about. I'll name them again. Judge Janine, Judge Napolitano, Rudy Giuliani, Dan Bongino, Nunes, Gates, Alan Dershowitz, Joe DeGeneva, Lou Dobbs, Sean Hannity, Greg Jarrett, and Mark Levin. You want to stand up to these Anons and take their word over these guys who put their faces, their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor on the line every single time they talk like this? Or you want to go with an Anon who's going to play a little game with you in the background to control you and get your money. And that's what it is. And I dare say that black hats in the IC have their claws into those guys, those people on the internal parts of the Patriot Soapbox, CBTS, and the Great Awakening. And as Zero Hour One pointed out, he's done a great deal of work here. He's been able to link it all back to the Reddit board that is kind of the central area where they control the whole thing. But I'll let him explain that to you. He's so technical that it's hard to understand. I'll be honest about it. It's hard to understand. Out of everybody other than Montagraph, his cyberspace, cyber understanding, computer knowledge, technical ability far exceeds, me. That's for sure, and probably most of us even that have looked into all this and pointed it out. But he has some graphs in there for you to look at. Some of the pictures, some pictures of the principals involved in the QAnon debacle. He names. I don't know if he actually uses their names on a couple of them. He might, but he brings up Pamphlet Anon, who I've actually had contact with on Discord. I was invited into the CBTS deal on Discord, and I didn't really see any problems there. I've had some communications with Pamphlet Anon and others, but that's probably somewhat benign there. At least when I was going, I don't go there so much anymore. But again, bad people know that they get more flies with honey and sugar than they do with vinegar. But after they get you, that's when you've got to watch out. Look at child traffickers and child molesters. What do they use to get the kids' attention? A teddy bear, a piece of candy, whatever, right? So you offer something that's really quite benign, but very enticing to get somebody under your control. Almost everybody that is doing this investigation, they might be asking for some donations and things now, but that's not their primary motivation, and I can attest to that. All right, it's been 59 minutes. I know I've ticked off a lot of people this morning, but like I said, I've stood toe-to-toe to generals and not backed down. I'm not going to back down to you. You can call me names. You can get upset. I told you I'll tell you even things you don't want to hear. I'm not telling you have to believe anything I say, but I'll give you as much information as I can so you can make an intelligent decision. And I will say this. I've placed myself in a position where I've subjected myself to evil powers. They're all over the place. I worked for 30 years off and on for the government. I've been in various religious organizations, as I've said, and control is the name of the game. Corporations, a lot of corporations. I've had to stand up to corporate entities under certain circumstances and walk away from them. Okay, I don't put up with that BS, and so you guys on there, if you want to, what was that saying? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. 01 Hour said, just block them, Roy. Just block them. But the thing about them being on my feeds is that people can see what they're really about, unless they hide it for a long time. And there are people that'll do that too. There are nefarious people on these things that will appear to be somebody real, or they'll hide behind a pseudonym. But whatever, there are various types. There are those who will attack you right away, and this is all put out by the CIA and not the FBI, but the CIA and Media Matters about how to use cyber warfare. And they might attack you right off. They might attack your character, or they might pretend to be your friend or a rescuer until they get you in. And I've had that happen at least 3 or 4 times. Usually my radar is a lot better than that, but that's why this faceless thing is so hard over cyberspace. So you can get taken by surprise by these people at some point in time when they finally think they've got you in their clutches, and then they turn thinking they're going to turn you. I don't turn, and neither do the people whose names I've just mentioned, like I said, Judge Dean, Judge Napolitano, and neither do these great gentlemen who've done all this work. And I'm going to name them one more time, okay? Just because I want to. All right, so we've got Nathan Stolpman, Titus Frost, 0 Hour 1, David Seaman, Isaac Green, OctoberReignz, Montagraph, and Unirock. As far as I'm concerned, they're real patriots, okay? And I've had some disagreements with them, okay? When I stood up and started talking, people tried to denigrate my military career. And I've often said, I was a lackluster officer. I was nothing special, but I was there. I've been in places where I've seen what's happened, and I've had the training and I've had the experience. But people who are trying to attack those who bring up problems will denigrate them. That's a tactic of the intelligence communities and in other nefarious organizations and individuals as well. You just keep trucking. So, it's all up to you anyway. You judge, right? You judge, and that's fine. You decide whether myself or these other guys are worth listening to. I mean, that you're going to make that decision anyway. So why would I threaten you or try to force you? Now, I might try to sugarcoat things, right? And you got to look out for that too. What did I just say? The child molester, the child abductor that uses candy. By what time are they going to turn on you? But I've been at this since 2009 on the YouTube, folks. And I've been verifiably in the public eye since 1978, standing up for these things in one form or another. Okay? But I'll let you judge from there. Okay, sorry again for the background noise. Let's take a look at the chat. I'm not going to go through all of it because we're already going over an hour. Okay, here's somebody, Sean Wiseman, Roy is deep state. Now, see, those are the kind of accusations that are coming out against people. No, you don't know who Q is. You better go look at this information and see what's going on. I'm not going to name any names again, but some people that I thought were very trustworthy on Twitter, who've had military backgrounds, etc., actually attacked Isaac Green and said he was deep state. Okay? Yeah. You're trying to control the ignorant, okay? And if that's your argument, that somebody's deep state, and that's the only proof, quote unquote, that you have. You're not making an intellectual argument. You're not in the debate. You're a name caller. You're a juvenile. You're a junior high school, maybe even elementary school nerd fool. Okay? And I'll say that to anybody's face, including the so-called retired, and they probably are, retired military people on Twitter that attacked Isaac Green. I'll tell it to them to their face. I'd block you, but like I said, that just proves who you are. P-51 Mustang. Okay, I'm gonna attack you this time, P-51, because I brought it up the other day. You may have seen it. You said, nobody listens to you anyway, Roy, and now you're saying all talk. Hey, what are you doing here, P-51 Mustang? If nobody listens to me, what are you doing here? You've already proven yourself a liar. Because you said nobody listens to me, and yet you keep coming back here. So what are you? You're a troll of some sort, which everybody already knows. You may be deep state IC. I certainly suspect that. Or at least you have associations there, affections, something. And I would block you. But I like keeping my enemies close. I'm watching you. And so are some other people. Oh, Gerald Esparza, he goes on Lionel too and causes problems. Lionel's much more accommodating than I am, I think. He laughs through stuff. I really like Lionel. I really appreciate the fact that he got on the Q thing in some regards too. But like I said, he came in really late and he just doesn't understand the entire deal. Somebody needs to send him this video so that he can have access in one place to all this investigation that's occurred. Oh, Liza Jean Williams, I hope Roy sees that 90% of his audience is sincere. I do. And I hope you see that I'm sincere. And, I know, I get upset sometimes, and I say, why do I want to do this? Why do I want to subject myself to this abuse? Why? Because of people like you, Lisa Jean. Because, I think about Jesus. I do this a lot, I know. He was being accused by the Pharisees and the scribes and the Herodians and the Romans all the time. Actually, not the Romans so much. He's being accused all the time. But he kept doing what he did because he knew that there were people out there who needed to hear the message. And he loved them. And they loved him back, despite the haters. So I try to keep that in balance. Let me put it that way. So I do know that most of you are here because you want to talk. And it's not because I'm always right. It's because we need to discuss these things. We need to think outside the box. And you can't do that by following one path, especially an anonymous path that you can't really interact with and that demands your total loyalty, fealty, under threat of punishment if you don't. And I'll never threaten to punish you, and neither will these people. Unirock is a good example. He's constantly saying, if I've hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. I don't mean to make you feel bad. I didn't mean, it wasn't an attack. It was just, I'm just making an observation. And he's a vet. He's not a dummy. And he's an honest guy who's bled for you, all of us, mistakenly maybe. I don't know how he views his situation that happened in Iraq. I imagine his eyes are open now. There's some problems there, and I've never talked to him about it. But the point is, he was willing to put his life on the line for you. No matter what the reasons were for the people above him that did it, he was willing to do it for you. And he's spilled blood in a foreign land to take care of you. And yeah, there are bad guys that have done that too. I'm not saying there isn't, but watching the rest of what he's done, and he and Montagraph have gone after each other. Titus Frost and Montagraph have gone after each other. These guys aren't the best of friends, but they have one common goal, right? And that's the constitutional republic of the United States of America. That's their common goal. God bless them. Okay. Vern Crow, I'm a vet from the 50s. Whoa. Wow. Well, God bless you too. Yeah, B. Hedrick 16. Someone is trying to keep the Patriots divided. Of course. And this all plays into their hands. You might say, well, Roy, you're dividing us by attacking Q. No. I'm holding on to the principle, right, that you stay independent and intelligent and look at all sides. I'm not telling you to put your blinders on and follow what I tell you, and that you have to send your money to me, and that you have to stay in line, and that you can't ask any questions. I answer as many questions as I can here. Okay? So, it's not an easy thing, but they are trying to divide us, and they're doing it in every way that they can. And then you're going to get charlatans that come in and take over because they see an opportunity to make money or to have control. Making money is the number one thing, okay? Which is the main reason why I've never monetized anything on my channel. Again, I'm not saying it's wrong for people to do that, but I know that's an accusation, okay? And in the case of the QAnon patriots, QAnon, hello QAnon patriots. Do you guys know who used to say that? Hello QAnon patriots. In the case of the Patriot Soapbox, CBTS as it became, the Great Awakening, and the Reddit, all of that, it is to get your money and to control you, and it has been seized by assets, dark hats, very subtly, dark hats in the intelligence community. Okay. Yeah, Epic GQ is nothing than recycled information. That's true. Or they have access to some of the wire services that will put out information before you see it in the news media. This is all a game that they've been playing, and 01 Hour explains it pretty well, as does Titus Frost and Unirock. Look, back in late January, Montagraph and I were accused. Actually, it was the 12th of January. We're accused by a YouTuber, Twitter guy, supposedly a cyber tech, and by the character B, and by the so-called Q themselves, of being deep staters, and that we'd been outed. Again, these attacks prove who these people really are and what they're really about. Very, very much so. You could take it for what it's worth. But those attacks early on in January were a problem that included us. Montagraph and I, actually it was Monty who did most of the research, along with some other, I'll just say, Anons that he knows. And they found, and they gave me the information, and I've talked about it before, and this is how they do it. You think that Twitter posts something before Trump does. No, it's a delay in the Twitter keys. For lack of, I could explain it more technically than that, but that's just the easiest way to do it. It's a delay in this. They have access to the tweets. So when Trump was sending something out, it would go through this filter system, or a delay system, let's put it that way. And before it would be posted on his account, it would go to these people who controlled the Twitter keys, and they could see what he's going to do, and they would post his cue saying, to make that connection. There's a connection to the Washington Pundit, where the original B is actually from, or a part of it. There is, as I've talked about, Abel Danger, David Hawkins unveiled the Kintech, which is a British company aligned with MI6, has what they call a social engineering protection appliance. It's a lot like AI. It's not AI, but it's very similar. And so what it can do is it correlates and coordinates all the information that Q is putting out. And somehow or another, these guys have linked into that. Okay? It's in the end. It's to unseat Trump and to destroy the constitutional republic and to take your money. Montagraph, full out sketchy. Hey, just because a guy's different doesn't mean he's bad. You know, if you've ever met very intelligent, artistic people, they're not necessarily going to be your kind of personality. Okay, that doesn't make them bad. Montagraph does some artistic work that seems very strange, but that's because he's artistic. Okay, that's because he's extremely intelligent. You're not at his level. That doesn't mean you should attack him. And I'm not saying you actually were, but just so people know. And I brought this up before. They want to link him into the Joan Benet killings and all that stuff. No, afraid not. A lot of people want to attack him for his production of a number of short video films surrounding the Umbrella Man, which isn't about, well, what it's about is about the deep state, about the Rothschilds, about the New World Order. He wears the checkerboard mask, which of course is the New World Order thing. He's showing it was an artistic production of the dangers of what the New World Order is about and its concomitant illegal activities, or trying to change illegal activities to legal, like pedophilia. Okay, the dangers of all that. And I've often said, look, what Montagraph did was a short version of what Stanley Kubrick did in Eyes Wide Shut. You're not calling Stanley Kubrick all these crazy names or going after him and accusing him of being a woman killer because he made Eyes Wide Shut. Man, people just, it's because people are jealous because they want to hate somebody, or they're so stupid that they don't understand what somebody's trying to tell them, which is the danger of art. What's art to one person is garbage to another. And unfortunately, then it can go to other places where, you all don't like the same music. I don't like rap, right? I don't hate rappers, but I don't care for the music, So there's all this variety so that we can find something that we can appreciate, something that we can take part in. Some people like red cars, some people like blue. As long as you're not actually hurting anybody, lay off Montagraph. My gosh. Okay. Well, man, I've been going for an hour and 20 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I haven't answered all the questions I want. You will like, FBI Anon. Yeah, very good. Very good. Somebody's making a point here. Witchy Angel 777 Q info was stolen from FBI Anon. Actually, from a number of different places. And I'm not going to go into all that. Please go look at the videos. It's going to take you some time. But then start to educate people here. We need to get back to real research and not depend on a faceless Anon to do it for us, or a group of them. Although now we know who they are. Pamphlet Anon, we actually know his name and other things, but I'm not going to do that here. Go listen. Like I say, it'll take you some time, but it'll be worthwhile. Lionel, if you are listening, hey buddy, I love you, but you got to stop pushing the Q stuff. If you want to call it, the internet form of the New York Times or the Washington Post, okay, go look at it, whatever. But it's not what you think, Lionel. So please review the material that's in the description box in this video. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. And as that one individual said, no, I do appreciate you. It's probably more than 90%. It's probably a lot higher than that. But I'm not doing it for clicks, for followers, to be liked or whatever. I'm doing it because I'm unloading the karma of 30 years of serving, basically 30 years, of serving an evil government. I love my country, but it's an evil government. And Trump's trying to fix it. I'm not sure he can. But I think he's making an effort. And as long as I see him making an effort, I'm there. I'm going to call him out as I have in the past when I see him do something bad, like the serious strikes or, etc. But he needs to arrest Hillary. He needs to arrest the Podestas. And I know he doesn't make the arrest. I know the people that want to be nitpicky. But he's the president of the United States. If he orders somebody and they don't do it, he needs to fire them. Use Article 2, Section 2 if he needs to bring it in. Hold on just a minute. You'll never guess who this is. I'm not going to say your name, but hello. I'm still on air. Do you know that? Okay, hold on a minute. Can I mention who you are, and can I put you on the mic? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Montagraph is on the phone. I'm going to turn up the volume on my mic and try to lower my voice because I want you to hear him. So I'm going to put him on speakerphone. They're just breaking some more information, and if you lose the video feed, hopefully the sound will still be here. So hold on just a minute, Monty. I'm going to put you on speaker. Okay, can you still hear me, Monty?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm going to put you. Make sure you talk. Make sure you talk real loud so that I know that it's going across. But I'm putting you up to the mic now. Here you go. Here you are, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, Monty.
Okay, now here's the situation for everybody that's in the chat. What I'd like you to do, I mean, if you feel like it, I'm not saying that you do it for sure. Just if you feel like it, or for the people that are my allies, if you would. And I know you're in the room. So if you can go to a Twitter account by the name of Get Well Path. Get Well Path. The Twitter account is GETWELLPATH. Okay? If you start looking at, I already have all this stuff archived, so if it disappears, I already got it. So if you look at it, I want you to examine the post right out the gate. What are they talking about? They're talking about SEO. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. All right? That is what you use when you're trying to promote websites. It's pretty important. Okay, if you keep scrolling down, if you go to about the third or fourth post, it talks about, Liberty Lioness, a Gab account, gab.ai, Liberty Lioness. If you keep scrolling down, you'll get into like 2007 and 2017. Okay? You got that? The name under this account is going to be Ginger. I'm not going to say the whole name because I don't want your stuff to get flagged. All right? But it's Ginger something. Now, if you go to, I don't know if anybody's doing it because I'm not watching your show, but it doesn't matter. It's okay, right? The matter is, if you go to the Montagraph Twitter account, which I'm gonna go to right now. I'm not even on your show, Roy, so I can't even see what's going on.
No, that's all right. You just tell them what you told me. That'll be good.
Hey, all right. This is so important, man. This is just going to blow your mind. If you go to the Monty Twitter account, I got all the archives sitting right there. There's no escape, so if they delete it, so what? Big deal. Doesn't matter. Okay? But what's really important here is that there was a Reddit, and listen, all the credit, in my personal opinion, of all this mess goes to 0 Hour 1. I'm telling you. Because, he shook the electronic tree, and now he's got other people helping. You understand what I'm saying? But anyway, what I'm trying to get at is there was a post that was made on Reddit because he made mention about Reddit itself. And the post, let me go ahead and bring it up. I can't give you the URL because it's 19 miles long. But I'll give you the basics of what it says as soon as it pulls up, all right? And again, this is archived as well. And it's talking about taking the, let me read exactly what it says. The post was made, okay, and it says exactly this. Do this for Serial Brain 2. Copy my tweet in your Twitter using the We Are Q image. And it was posted by Liberty Lioness. Well, if you went to that Twitter account I asked you to go to, that person is talking about Liberty Lioness. That's where they talked about all the internet marketing, the SEO, and all that nonsense. And those posts are going back in 2017 and all that stuff, right? Now, here's the thing. When you scroll down, the first person to make mention says, Serial Brain 2 says, great work, Liberty Linus, thank you. And then as you go down from another person, it says, OP, did you make the image? Q just posted it on 1390. Liberty Linus says, yes, I did. That's awesome. And then MB Moonpearl says, congratulations. Now you have been recognized by Q. 1390. And then a question is launched, and this is what got me into my investigation mode. A question was launched by Trading Horse. Who is Ginger? I'm not going to say their full name because, again, I don't want your stuff to get flagged. Who is Ginger? Ba-da-da, right? And whoever responded to it, all of the comments have been deleted. So guess what Monty went to go do? Find Ginger. We found her all right. We found her on Guru.com. We found her on Instagram. We found 2 Twitter accounts. But this is the crazy part. Dude, I'm telling you, this is totally, and I can prove it. This is the thing. I can prove it because it's all archived. That particular woman is, she's like the director, or she's in charge of a company called Dimensional Inc. Dimensional 4 Inc. Dimensional 4 Inc. I'm telling you, is a government/military contractor. That's a fact. Out of Washington State. It's all archived, dude. You can't get away from it. You can't escape it. So let me go ahead and pull up the government contractor. I got the Manta in there. That's already been archived. Right here. Birmingham, Washington, 98337, Defense Contractors, United States Government Contracts. If you go down to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you go down to the 8th one, it says right here, Dimension 4 Incorporated. Bremerton, Washington, they've won 10 contracts, and the value is over $4 million. It's a fact, dude. There's no escape. And by the way, here's the thing. When 0 Hour 1 had his, this is important too, and you know what? This guy's doing a good job. I don't care what anybody says about him. He's doing it right. 0 Hour 1 had a show last night on his tubes. I went over there and took a peek, see how, as he was doing it. There was a video that was dropped by Jerome Corsi on March 25th. And the person in the lower left-hand corner was a guy by the name of Brainstorm. The tweet that was laid down by Isaac Green, in other words, anti-school, last night about how he was being manipulated, and somebody contacted him, and there was an email address that was in that tweet. That email address goes to a plunky of fish. ad or whatever, like little advertisement, looking for dating or whatever, and the guy's face shows right up on there.
I saw that.
But the name of the account is called Satanic Nacho.
Say that again. Satanic Nacho.
Yes, Satanic Nacho. The other two phrases there, it is something to do with demons and stuff. I mean, it's not funny, dude. This is not funny stuff. Now, here's the thing. Man, this is... okay, here's the thing. The reason why the coffee stuff with Corsi, okay, I'm not getting confused. I'm just trying to make this palatable for everybody that's listening. The Jerome Corsi video is so important because that video was dropped on March 25th of 2018 in the far left-hand corner, according to Mr. Corsi, or the woman that announced all the people in that video. On the left-hand corner was a guy by the name of Brainstorm. Okay? What's crazy is one of the images located in the email address that Mr. Isaac Green posted that tweet that goes back to that Plenty of Fish. If you go over to like the second to the last, you grab that image and you put them side by side to the guy sitting in Jerome Corsi's, in his video. They look like the same guy, man, by the nose.
Wow,
by the nose.
crazy.
Okay, now here's the thing. I've already done the Photoshop work and all that stuff. This is the part that's mind-boggling. Again, remember, Jerome Corsi put up that video on March 25th of 2018. The QAnon.pub website was created on March 8th. You got that? Are you understand what's happening? Now, for all you techies out there, the IP addresses for that website is coming out of San Francisco. All right? But it's going through a cloud server. I've already pulled all of the actuaries. In other words, the technical actuaries on the site. I already have it recorded. That'll be published soon. And you can go get it yourself. And you know what I'm talking about. And it is so massive, it'll blow your mind. It will blow your mind.
Are you going to make a video on this? I know 0 Hour 1 has done a lot of this work, but it'd be good to see you kind of explain it too, Monty. Are you going to do that for us?
You know what? I got one loading up now, but according to the Tango, he says there's 3 people that are following me around. Well, I think what he meant by that is electronically. So I had a little chat with him early this morning, about 4 o'clock this morning, in my search prompt.
Well, DeFango was the one that accused you and me of creating B, which in fact he probably did himself.
Yeah, I understand that, but it doesn't even matter to me. Okay, it doesn't matter to me, because what people are not understanding is the ginger woman. This is so important. The ginger woman that has that other account, the very first Twitter account that I gave everybody about the wellness, talk about SEO, and talks about the Linus and all that crap. That woman there, I mean, it's a done deal, dude. She is directly connected to Dimension 4 Incorporated,
which has a military contract.
That's absolutely correct.
So now we have ties to U.S. military, the military industrial complex with Q, and also MI6 is also tied into Q.
Well, I don't know about the MI6.
Yeah, that came from David Hawkins of Able Danger. We've known that for a few months now.
Yeah, but all I'm just trying to say is the ginger woman, that it is my opinion. I don't know for a fact, but it is my opinion that the Linus person is ginger. That's my opinion.
I see what you're saying.
I can't prove that yet. I'm still looking into that part of it. But the good thing is I actually have Ginger's picture. It was hard to get, but I did got it. You know what I mean? Her actual face, and that's not a moniker. The crazy thing is according to the information that I've obtained, is the Ginger woman is 70 years of age. And there's a lot of cloaking going on. One account will say she's from Arkansas. Another one will say she's from the Ozarks. Another one will say she's from Oregon. Another one will, you see what I mean? There's a lot of dancing going around.
Right.
But we've been through this stuff before when we, had to slap the CIA upside their head, with the Benghazi nonsense. They got stomped on for that one.
Well, thanks, Monty, for the info.
Listen, I'm not trying to be confusing, but
well, no, this whole thing is complicated. So that's I'll kind of sum it up when we hang up. But yeah, if you're going to be able to do a video on it, just to kind of clear it up.
I got a video loading now, but it says it won't be ready until 55 minutes.
Okay, yeah, no hurry. I mean, just so people are aware, and that'll be on your OctoberReignz channel, correct?
It actually will probably be on the Illuminati channel.
Oh, okay. Oh, I forgot about that one.
Either one.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'll just post it on my Twitter account.
Okay.
And I'll just tag up you and whoever. But the thing is, okay, this last thing I want to end out with. The Dimension 4 Incorporated Corporation. Go look at the Manta. The Manta.com is an organization or a domain that is kind of like Alexa. Alexa takes care of all your worldwide ranking in the United States or internationally. The Manta takes care of your business. In other words, it does, exactly what you do. I mean, what your kind of business, how many employees you have, how much, what your annual income is or whatever. And on Manta, it says 6,600,000. It says 75 employees. Let's see what else. I think it's out of Washington State. And then that particular company, let me pull up the Manta right now. Okay, I'm right here, so I can read it exactly what it said. All right, this is exactly what the Manta said. I'm just waiting for it to upload. Okay, it says Dimension 4 Inc. is out of Bremerton, Washington. It says Dimensional 4 Inc. is a privately held company. And then it says categorized under data processing. In preparation, our records show it was established in 1991 and incorporated in Washington. Current estimate shows the company an annual revenue of $6,600,000 with employees a staff of approximately 75.
All right.
That's all public record, man. Sorry, Monty's not doing anything naughty to go get information. It's just I know how to get the information.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, absolutely. That's the key to all of this, and that's why this is so important that all of this is coming out, because it's not what it's pretending to be, and we've needed to know all this. So thank you.
0 Hour 1 and Mr. Isaac Green are absolutely correct. The trip code, okay, it was signed in by the same guy twice. One under this fictitious idea that they're an Anon, and they probably figured, I'd signed in. Listen, I've done it myself, man. I've signed into the wrong account, in my life before, somewhere along the way. We all do it. I can imagine you do.
Let me explain to the audience what you're talking about, Monty. What occurred, ladies and gentlemen, which really blew the lid off of this whole thing, was that Pamphlet Anon, we now know, is posting as Q. So the question is, if Q was just working through him, how is it that Pamphlet Anon knew Q's password? You can see the trip code, but you need a password to put the trip code up. And so how did Pamphlet Anon know Q's password when he posted? And that happened with a lot of people watching it, which really, I mean, a lot of information was already out and exposed, but that at that point in time, he really hung himself. And they've tried to make it look like this was an action by Q to test the audience, the different people that are involved. But in fact, it was just Pamphlet Anon who slipped up, as Monty said, and outed himself on Lifetime.
Exactly. So here's the thing. This is why this is very bad. Because I don't know about you, and somebody made mention about it too the other day. If somebody ripped off your mother, your brother, your sister, your father, your aunt, your uncle, your best friend, your daughter, your son, whatever, you'd be pissed off, man. You'd be very, very angry because there's money being exchanged here either through applications. Now, Titus Frost came out with some information on that. Yeah, we had a little, buckle in our road or a little bump in our road, big deal. But you know what? I don't care about any of that nonsense. If you get all these other individuals working in unison to help all the other people that are being taken advantage of psychologically, emotionally, because we all want change, and we do all want change. We're sick and tired of all the corruption, all the nonsense. But there's nothing worse than playing on the emotions of others and making a buck out of the deal. Above and beyond that, Alexa ranking is everything. This is what I'm trying to explain to people. Your Alexa ranking, your SEO, the search engine optimization, is key into the proliferation of the information to websites. The websites have what is called the Alexa ranking. Your Alexa ranking in the United States, as opposed to, let's say, international, is night and day. So what I'm trying to say is your Alexa ranking, if you type in Infowars.com, it might be in the top 5,000 websites all over the world. That's every single website. That's not .com. That's all of them put together. So if you go to Alexa.com right now and you type in Google, Google will be number one. YouTube will be number two. And Yahoo will be number 3, and Amazon will be number 4. The lower the number, the higher the value. I've already pulled all of the actuaries on QAnon.pub.
Wow.
There's no escape. There's no escape because I got it all. I got it all. And I got all the IP addresses. I got all the associations. Man, I'm telling you what. You talk about thorough. Yeah, it's a done deal. So their Alexa ranking for, I believe it's United States, is $7-8 grand or something like that. But their worldwide rank right now is like 188,000. Or maybe it's 107. I don't have it right in front of me. So, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to say. But as far as it going through the cloud, wait until you see it, dude. It'll just blow your freaking mind, dude. I'm serious. Of what's going on here, because there's so much like 0 Hour 1 was talking about. They got this website carrying over, and then they got the advertisement going over here, and then the advertisement going over there, and they have these little games that they play, and they say, okay, somebody's like, well, where do I find the latest Q posts? And then one of their crew will come along and say, oh, well, this is where you find it. It's right here on QAnon.pub. See what I mean?
Right.
It's all a scam to manipulate people. So. Anyway, dude, I'm sorry to call you and bug you, but I had to get it out.
I'm glad you pointed that out, Monty. Anytime. Anytime. Thank you.
Yeah. So the archives are there. Once my video's up, I'll put all the archives there. And it doesn't matter if they delete it. Oh, well, I got the archives. So what?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why you always get archives. As soon as you find something, you archive it. Don't forget, archive.is. For anybody that wants to archive something, listen, the reason why, let me just finish with this. The reason why the video that you pointed to, the exposure of QAnon, you'll notice that a tweet supposedly was made by Donald Trump, and 0 Hour 1 is, supposedly he's talking about 0 Hour 1. He's not, okay?
Oh, I saw that.
Monty is showing you how easily that websites can be changed like instantaneously. I mean, I can deface any website in the world just instant. I can deface chats. I can deface live chats. I can all of them. It doesn't mean anything. That's what I'm just trying to tell you. Is all of this stuff can be manipulated in real time, and it will fool you. But it's all BS. That's what I'm trying to show you. I'm not trying to, be mean. I'm trying to show you that it truly can be done by people that know how to do it. See what I mean? So
Right.
Don't let people fool you. When you go to a website, when you find something on the web, you got to archive that son of a gun. Don't wait. Don't come back and get it. Archive it right there on the spot. Because if somebody gets wind that you're doing an investigation, they're going to start deleting shit.
Which is exactly what Q did. That's exactly what they were doing in the last week or so.
Yeah, and the fact that 8chan went down yesterday, they were saying they're under a DOD, a DDoS attack. You know what I mean? It's like nonsense. It's all BS. The facts of the matter are the feds are on this case for sure, guaranteed.
Well, when you pretend to be a government insider close to the president, you're going too far.
We know the feds are. We know the feds are corrupt. We know this. We know that the FBI is corrupt. But here's the thing: the higher you go up the FBI chain, yeah, it's really, really, really corrupt. The lower you come down, in other words, your local municipalities. Maybe I'm naive, but I just can't imagine that all FBI are corrupt. I just can't imagine that. But maybe they are. But I'm just saying, to give this sort of thing a chance, if you have guys that are intentionally manipulating information to make money, that's fraud, dude. I'm sorry. And if you're going on any chan and you're saying, hey, this is a pen that was shot in the Oval Office and this is a presidential pen, dude, that would be right there a breach of national security. You'd be scooped up in no time.
Right.
This is why I believe that it was Clinton all this time, because to get a pen that was shot during the Clinton administration, that would not be a crime, because they're not under Secret Service protection. The photograph that was taken supposedly from Trump's, Air Force One of, above the ocean, everybody did these, schematics, and they said, oh, it came from right here, here's the coordinates. If you remember, ladies and gentlemen, President Obama, or former President Obama, was shadowing, Trump everywhere he went. So it could have been anybody in his staff that took it from their plane. You see? I mean, this is why I thought it was Clinton all along, and I believe that there's some sort of involvement. I truly believe that, because I'm telling you, you can't do that. You can't say, oh, well, I'm, connected directly with, the president, and here's his pen. Wrong. You're going to jail, dude. That's a felony. That's under treason. That's like worse than sedition. That's a violation of national security, because that means you're telling the enemy, whoever they may be, the exact location of where you are, and you're on. 8chan wasn't even created until 2013. And here's another thing. This is why the QAnon thing is a bunch of BS, because Anonymous was created in late 2003, 2004, and what happened to it? It scared the living bejesus out of all the world governments. It was infiltrated by the FBI, and the last original Anon that was doing naughty things was scooped up in 2010 by the FBI from exit information that came from a photograph off of Facebook. Listen, dude, let me get off. I got to get off the line here, because
well, you're a wealth of information, Monty. You could go on for a long time and give a lot of stuff, but I appreciate you coming on and just giving us a heads up on that. Thank you.
All right. I'll get later. Sorry to bother you, buddy, but
no.
People got to look into this stuff. It's not funny.
No, it isn't.
This is my video up. You'll see it with your own eyes. It's not a game. I got all the archives, and I'll put them more as we go along. Okay.
Thank you so very, very much.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. See, you notice even Monty admitted that he and Titus have crossed swords as well as he and Unirock. So, like I say, you're getting this. These are guys that are out for the truth of the matter, not any other thing. Finally, I want to point out again, sorry to keep everybody for that little extra time, but I knew Monty would give us some information. The point that he was making is that there are people in control of the Q situation that have ties to military contractors, not directly with the government. They're not, and also MI6, as we talked about with David Hawkins. These are not White House insiders. Okay, very likely these are black hat individuals that are using this for nefarious purposes. Okay. And there's more. So please go look at 0 Hour 1. Well, everybody's information that was on there, and it'll clarify a lot of that for you. The big question is, again, why would I come out with this information? Doesn't it divide the patriot community? I think Monty said it right. If you have somebody that's trying to scam your grandmother and take her life savings or even any part of it, or cause them unnecessary confusion, you'd want to know about it. You'd want to do something about it. So what we're doing here is, if this thing had been all above board, if we hadn't found this other activity, if I hadn't seen the attacks against people that I know are good patriots, not that we're all right 100% of the time, of course not, but we're not deep staters. We're not out here making false accusations against others. As you see, I don't accuse these people of just being deep staters and let it drop. We have hard evidence to suggest that something nefarious is going on in the QAnon, Patriot Soapbox, CBTS, Reddit, and the Great Awakening. Okay, we have hardcore evidence. We're not just sitting here saying they're criminals. Don't listen to them. They're deep state, whatever. No, that's intellectually, it's empty. It has no veracity. But when you have evidence and you show that there are problems here, that's what the good folks will do, and that's what we're doing here. Okay, all right. We have to police ourselves. We can't allow these things to happen in our communities. But look what it's done, because of what this Q thing since November has done. After the bad guys took it over, look what's happened. Look how much time we've spent on this when we should have been talking about, for instance, North Korea or Russia or Syria or the Federal Reserve or the DOJ trying to hide information from the intelligence committees, the Podestas, whatever, all of this other stuff. Look what it's forced us to do. But we had to do it. We had to go after this and show it for what it is, because it in fact is causing the division in the community. Last point. A faceless Anon has no responsibility, because if you out them and you don't know who they are, then they just move to another anonymous name, pseudonym, and starts all over again. So what I'm saying is I want you to reevaluate where you get your information, and that despite the claims of the Anons, and I'm not saying all Anons are bad, I know a few of them and they're good guys, but you've got to watch what their fruits are. By their fruits you shall know them, and sometimes they hide their fruits. A lot of people say, well, Monty hid fruits. No. His personal life is his own business, okay? If we want to go there. It's what is he trying to do to scam others, or that type of thing. And so some of the Anons are great people, even though they have to do it the way they do it. But by their fruits you shall know them. And in this case, when faceless Anons are tearing down well-known, dedicated, lifelong patriots and calling them deep staters and traitors and whatever, and yet they remain anonymous, there's a problem with that. That's a satanic Saul Alinsky tactic. Pamphlet Anon got caught entering Q's password about 4 days ago, in front of thousands, apparently, of people that were watching him do it. And then he tried to cover it up. Pamphlet Anon has the Q password. He is acting as Q. His team is acting as Q, and they're not. It's not a government insider. It's not a White House insider. And at this point, it's not even military intelligence that have the interests of the constitutional republic at heart. What we're seeing, what the evidence suggests, is this is a manipulative front, possibly for bad hats in the IC, but at the very least, it's a money-making Ponzi scheme, is the way 0 Hour 1 explained it. And I think he's right. God bless you. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. And yes, despite a lot of people say, well, Roy, you're a fearmonger, there's nothing wrong with prepping, praying, and staying out of the way, because things could go bad at any time. They might not. Trump might have a handle on it. But you can't bet on somebody else taking care of you. You got to take care of yourself. So prep, pray, and stay out of the way, and always be prepared. Keep your situational awareness on high. Like I said, God bless you. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution. And indeed, God bless Donald Trump and Melania. God bless Donald Trump in all of his righteous endeavors. And may the Lord place upon him the spirit of discernment that will come down upon him as the dews from heaven, that he will have that power of discernment of right and wrong, and most of all, have the courage to do what is right. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We'll see you next time. I'm losing my voice. The lemon juice and honey didn't help this time, but that's okay. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for putting up with my well, I'm not perfect, that's for sure. Maybe that's what makes it real. Okay, out here for now. Till next time.